Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about Polo G, everyone's favorite Chicago rapper. Yes, you heard me right. The forgotten rapper that it seems like a lot of people simply don't care about makes his silent return. And before anyone wants to come at me and call me a hater, I used to be a huge Polo G fan back in the day. I even owned some of his merch, the Hall of Fame Volume 2 merch. I thought it was nice and I was a huge fan of him at the time. But let's talk about Polo G. We're going to be talking about Polo G today because, well, he recently just dropped the album. Whether you know it or not, he dropped an album. I'm sure some of you know that Polo G dropped an album the previous year in 2024. He dropped Hood Poet. Hood Poet came out in August of 2024, right? And it didn't perform well. It sold about 24,000 units in its first week, and it charted at number 28 on the Billboard 200. This was a colossal flop. It didn't do well compared to his previous album, Hall of Fame, which debuted at number 1, sold about 143,000 units in its first week. It was a colossal failure. And Hood Poet ultimately was just a whatever album. Fast forward to now, he just released his deluxe edition, volume 2 edition of Hood Poet, which basically is just another album. The reason I'm going to say it's a whole new album is because it's 22 additional tracks. He titled this album or version the Black Heart Edition. So if you go on there, it will show like 2 discs. The first disc being the new version of the 22 new tracks that he put on there. And then obviously you see the Hood Poet version. And this was a colossal failure. You think the Hood Poet version is a colossal failure? This one is like threefold to that, because this album failed to chart on the Billboard 200. His previous album, Hood Poet, debuted at number 28 out of 200 albums when it first charted. Whereas this album failed to chart. It's not even in the top 200. So we don't even know how much he sells. But if you base off like the Billboard 200 and go to like the lowest selling album, you could assume he sold less than 10,000 units in his first week, which is really sad. I'm not here to clown on the guy because I'm sure he's a cool guy, I suppose. I don't know. I used to be a huge fan of Polo G. Guys, I don't think you understand how big this fall off is. Let's go back in a time where this guy was genuinely in his prime musically and commercially. So basically the GOAT to the Hall of Fame era is when this guy was popping off. He was everywhere. So let's start off with the GOAT. The GOAT dropped in 2020, which is my first ever album I have ever listened to in rap. And it is one of my favorite albums I ever listened to. The GOAT is a great album. I think it debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, debuted number 3. It didn't go number 1. It sold like 99,000 units in its first week. It was a great album, and it had a bunch of bangers and hits. Commercially, quality-wise, it had everything. The GOAT is currently 3 times platinum as an album. And it has tracks that are multi-platinum like Flex, Heartless, Go Stupid, 21, Martin and Gina, Be Something, I Know, Beautiful Pain, 33, D&D. All those are all platinum or multi-platinum, with Martin and Gina being 7 times platinum currently, which again is crazy. And practically almost every single song on the GOAT is either gold, platinum, or multi-platinum. Guys, that is a huge accomplishment. That is something a lot of rappers can't do and could dream of. And that's why the GOAT, in my opinion, is his best album. Not because it performed well, but because I simply think if it is great music, it will perform well. That's why I think the GOAT is undeniably his best album. And Die Legend is a great album too, but I prefer the GOAT a little more. But the Die Legend has like a song in there, Pop Out, that's almost diamond, right? And then we get into Hall of Fame. In 2021, he drops Hall of Fame. The album goes number 1. And before he dropped Hall of Fame, he had his successful number 1 song, Rap Star, which is currently like 7 times platinum as well. Guys, Polo G was everywhere. He was doing great. The problem is when Hall of Fame dropped, it was disappointing. And when you disappoint a group of your fans that has an album that is highly anticipated and you just disappoint them, it's over. You're fucked. Because basically what you did is you shit the bed, basically. When it mattered most, you dropped the ball, and people just are not here to give you another chance. People's attention spans go like this. They snap like that, and it's just gone. It happened to Roddy Ricch. It's probably going to happen to A$AP Rocky, is when people are anticipating you the most, you let them down it's over. You just can't make a comeback. It's happened to a lot of rappers at this point, and it's gonna continuously happen to these rappers, and it's unfortunate because Polo G at one point was my favorite rapper and artist, and I think he was great. He didn't beef with anyone, he didn't do any of that. But the one problem Polo G has faced and has continued to face to this day, because I listen to Black Heart, is his production. His production is still bad and horrendously just outdated in my opinion. When you listen to Blackheart, I think Blackheart is a solid project. It's not his best, but it's not his, I don't think it's his worst either. But the problem is that the production is still a glaring issue. How are you still having problems with your production 6 years later from your highly defining album, The Go? 6 years and you still can't get your production down is a problem. It's a glaring issue. When I was listening to Blackheart, sure, there's some good tracks on there, but the problem I faced the most was the mixing. The mixing, the mastering was all over the place. 1 second, his vocals are really quiet and the beat is just astronomically really high for whatever reason. And then it flip flops and then the beat is really quiet. He's too loud. I gotta adjust the volume constantly throughout the album. And it's like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I have to adjust the volume from track to track to track on the album? And then you listen to it on like some high quality headphones and it just, I'm sorry, but it doesn't sound good. Like, my favorite track on the album is Hard Body. I think it's a great track. However, I can't just undermine the glaring issue of the production is still a fucking problem that this guy is still facing years later. Even the GOAT doesn't have like stellar production, but it's still, in my opinion, his best production, which isn't even like anything to gloat about because it's not anything like I never heard of before. It's kind of generic, but it's better than whatever he's doing now. It's a problem that I don't know how he hasn't addressed to this point. It's a criticism that he's been getting for years now, and he seems to just not fix. I don't know if he's actually trying to fix the issue or if he thinks the issue is fixed, because it's not. Does he listen to his own album? Because the sound quality on the album is horrendous. It's bad. You need to listen to it and tell me that the production is good, because it's not. It's a problem. People are gonna say, oh, the lyrics speak more than the production. Guys, if I just can't stand how it sounds, I just can't listen to it. And that's a problem with Polo G that he still is having to this day, which I think is crazy because it's a criticism he has gotten for years. Why do you think people were calling him Piano G? It's not even just the beats at this point, it's just the production. The mixing's whack, the beats are questionable on certain songs. Like, I just don't know what he's doing. And then apparently he wants to transition to a streamer, which I think is ridiculous. Look, I'm sure he's a cool guy, but the problem is how he presents himself comes off as very nonchalant, very mellow, just very dull and uninteresting. And I'm sorry, he just can't pander to a crowd that will care about him to tune in for his live streams. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that type of character, and there's nothing wrong with having that. It's just, that's just not your job. That's not what you were made to do. You were made to rap. And if I'm in Polo G's shoes, what I would do is just experiment at this point, because whatever he's doing currently is just simply not working. What I would do is I would explore pop. I think Polo G can excel in pop music. Polo G's performance on Better Days was exceptional. I thought it was great. It was when he was getting a lot of criticism saying, hey, you can't expand your horizons, you don't have no versatility, you keep going on these guitar and piano beats. And then he goes on there and shows up, and the track is sitting at 500 million streams currently. And it's like, why doesn't he tap into more the pop country scene? I think that's where he should be going, in my opinion, because the streaming thing is not going to work out. I don't know why he's doing that in the first place. I already know he's not comfortable doing that because he barely even goes live on Instagram. He never really did. He's only doing that because he's flopping. And I get it. The pressure's on him. I know he's not the guy anymore. And it's unfortunate that rappers come and go. And I really do sympathize with the guy. I never met him, but I'm sure he's cool or whatever. But the problem I have is that he's not learning from the mistakes. At this point, I'm experimenting. If the label's not letting him experiment, I'm trying to get out of the deal and might as well try something different. Experiment. Go into different genres. And please fix the production. And I think he can excel again. I don't think he's a bad artist. I really don't. It's crazy to me that someone like Rod Wave still exceeding, but Polo G's not, when they make very, very similar music, are very repetitious. Their brand is practically the same. And it's like, why is Rod Wave doing better than Polo G when both guys literally make practically the same music? And it's just, I don't know. that's just what I'm thinking about Polo G currently. A lot of things are going on with him, with flopping. People are clowning him. The Twitter posts of going viral that he dropped 40 songs, no one cares. It's just unfortunate, and I don't like when a rapper I used to love at one point is doing pretty poorly. I'm sure he still has money or whatever. I'm sure he's doing fine on that, but obviously you want to leave a legacy, and I don't know if this is the path he wants to go down, because currently when you're dropping a new album and it can't even chart on the top 200, it's a little concerning and it's unfortunate. And if I'm Polo G, I would experiment, and I hope he does experiment, because I think that's his only option left.